Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into the story behind the story of the Green Bay Packers dynasty under Vince Lombardi.
Yeah, we all know about the championships, the Ice Bowl, all that iconic stuff.
Exactly. But what we want to do today is look a bit deeper. We've got biographies, player memoirs, some really great sources.
And our mission really is to explore the players themselves, their backgrounds, where they came from.
Right, because you had this incredibly diverse group, a lot of them from, pretty tough circumstances.
And somehow they didn't just tolerate Lombardi's discipline, they seemed to almost crave it. How did that happen?
That's the question. How did their personal histories shape this collective drive, this will to win under such a demanding coach? We're looking for those connections.
Those aha moments.
Yeah. So maybe the best place to start is with Lombardi himself, the architect. His own upbringing is pretty revealing.
Absolutely. Grew up in Brooklyn, Hell's Kitchen, son of Italian immigrants, very devout Catholic background, played ball himself, Fordham, one of the 7 blocks of granite.
Right. But his coaching philosophy, that famous discipline, a lot of that seems to come from his time at West Point, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. He was an assistant there under Colonel Red Blake. We're talking late 40s, early 50s.
And Blake was known for that military-style discipline.
Exactly. Meticulous planning, repetition, precision. Lombardi soaked that up. It wasn't just theory for him. It became his method. Organization, preparation, detail.
It's kind of amazing, though, that his path to Green Bay wasn't exactly direct.
Not at all. He really wanted the Giants head coach job where he was an assistant, but it just wasn't opening up for him.
And he applied to Notre Dame, right?
Yeah,
And
it's crickets.
yeah. Imagine that. No response.
Meanwhile, Grisey, they were basically the bottom feeders of the league back then.
Smallest market, hadn't had a winning season in years. A laughingstock, like you said.
And other coaches had already turned them down. So Lombardi, in a way, he wasn't their first choice.
But he took it. 5-year deal, $40,000 a year.
And then, boom, championship in his 3rd season. That fast turnaround is just incredible. It really cemented his approach, showed it worked.
So what was that core philosophy? How did he make it stick so fast with a team that was, well, used to losing?
Well, foundationally, it was all about discipline, hard work, sacrifice, execution, organization, preparation, attention to detail. These weren't just words for him.
He lived it, demanded it.
Totally. He had this quote, something like, work, sacrifice, perseverance, competitive drive, selflessness, respect for authority. That's the price for any worthwhile goal. You had to earn success. No shortcuts.
That sounds intense. How did he get players to buy into that, especially players maybe resistant to authority?
Well, he had this interesting definition of leadership. It wasn't just directing people. It was having that direction accepted.
Okay, so getting buy-in.
Right. And he thought that rested on commitment, loyalty, pride, and followers. He talked a lot about mental toughness, used words like humility, sacrifice, self-denial, Spartanism, even love.
Love. That's surprising given the tough image.
It is, isn't it? But he believed, really believed, that once you won their hearts, they will follow you anywhere. It was this weird mix, intense demands, but also this deep emotional connection he sought.
And the sources say he was a great teacher, a communicator.
Yeah, hugely important.
Yeah.
He wasn't obsessed with the other team's schemes. It was all about how well we execute our stuff.
Master the fundamentals, flawless execution.
Prepare, 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 then let them play. That was his thing.
And he had this reputation, didn't he, for taking maybe less than stellar players and making them great.
Oh, yeah. The knack of taking a mediocre player and making him great. That's how it was foot. He looked beyond just raw talent. He was searching for something else. Character, maybe?
Something internal.
Right. Jerry Kramer said it best, I think. Lombardi could tear you apart, but then he knew exactly how to build you back up, make you believe you were better than you thought.
That's psychology almost.
Totally. He treated each one of us separately and differently. So when he did give praise, which wasn't often, it really, really landed. It meant something.
Marv Fleming called him a coach of life. Said he helped them develop character as a team.
Which brings us back to the players. Why these guys? Why did this demanding style resonate so much? And that's where their backgrounds, I think, become really crucial.
Yeah, let's dig into that. Because when you look, so many of them came from, well, humble beginnings, often really tough.
Jerry Kramer, again, he just nails it. Deprivation was a key motivator. Simple as that.
And you see it over and over. Take Willie Davis.
Incredible story. Great grandson of slaves. His dad in Louisiana earning 50 cents a day during the Depression. 50 cents.
Unimaginable.
Willie gets a scholarship, first in his whole family to go to college. And then, get this, earns an MBA while playing pro football.
That's just sheer determination, that drive.
It really is. And he wasn't alone.
Ron Kostelnik. Grandparents from Ukraine, dad was a coal miner in Pennsylvania.
Henry Jordan, born on a tenant farm in Virginia. Poor, smart, and driven, they said. Got a scholarship, made the dean's list.
These guys knew hard work. They knew struggle. And some faced real loss early on. Jimmy Taylor's dad died when he was just a kid, under 10.
Yeah, his mom worked in a laundry. He basically hit the streets at 10 to help out. Became street smart, super focused on conditioning.
Yeah.
You could see how that early fight fueled him.
Ray Nitschke, too. Lost his dad at 3, his mom at 13.
Rough. Really rough. And he apparently channeled that anger, got into street fights, then poured it all into sports. Found structure there.
And Kramer himself, you mentioned his quote, but his childhood? Wow. Shotgun accident, groin injury, broken bones, concussions.
A lot of physical trauma. And he explicitly said that hardship, having had nothing, fueled his compulsion to be busy, to be productive. He connected it later to Lombardi, too.
It's a pattern, isn't it? Turning that adversity into something.
Definitely. Look at Dave Robinson. Youngest of 8 kids. New Jersey farm labor father who died when Dave was in high school.
Yet he gets 46 scholarship offers, full ride.
46 for 46. Speaks to his talent, sure, but also just that relentless drive for an opportunity for a way up.
And then there are stories of family sacrifice, or just wanting something different. Bob Skaronsky's parents worked in a rubber mill.
And he'd only go to college if his brother got a scholarship, too. Family loyalty there.
Ken Bowman's dad used his life savings on a gas station, told him sports was his only shot at college. Talk about pressure.
Or Bob Long, growing up near steel mills in Pennsylvania, just wanting out to get as far away as possible.
And Bob Brown, one of 12 kids of a sharecropper, the only one to go to college.
Gail Gillingham, running a dairy farm with his mom because his dad was a trucker, often away. You put all these stories together.
Yeah, what you see is resilience, drive. These guys were hungry, ready to grab any chance they got. Football wasn't just a game.
It was a lifeline, a path forward.
And maybe, just maybe, that's why Lombardi's style worked for them. That background didn't just make them tough, it made them ready for his kind of structure.
I think that's exactly it. That's the core insight, maybe. They weren't just accepting his discipline. They might have actually needed it, appreciated it on some level.
Like finding stability they hadn't always had.
Could be. And for some, maybe even a father figure. Paul Hornung, his dad left when he was young. He said Lombardi became the father Hornung. Never had.
Wow. So Lombardi filled that role for some?
Seems like it for Hornung, and maybe others too, finding that strong, consistent male figure they lacked growing up.
And beyond just a father figure idea, there's that quote from Marv Fleming. It really struck me.
The one about hating the criticism but loving the praise.
Yeah. When he chastised you, you hated it. But when he gave you a pat on the back, you loved it because you craved it so much.
That word, craved. It speaks volumes, doesn't it? A deep emotional need for approval, for guidance, maybe especially after tough times.
And Lombardi seemed to get that idea that leadership needs followers, that you have to win their hearts.
And it clearly worked on a mental level, too. Burton Starr, legendary QB, cool under pressure, right? He said, I wasn't mentally tough till I met Coach Lombardi.
Max McGee said the same thing. Vince changed everybody's attitude. He was rewiring them almost.
Yeah, building mental fortitude. And he built unity somehow out of all these different guys.
Red Mac's observation was interesting. Lombardi respected everyone, treated the stars and the role players the same, no looking down on each other.
Yeah, it was never a bitching contest, Max said. Lombardi knew winning came from the human aspect.
Which is funny because apparently, at first, they united against him.
Huh. Yeah, that quote is great. They united in our fear of him, our hatred for him. He was deliberately the common enemy.
But that shifted.
Completely. Fear turned into camaraderie, then into, well, love, according to them.
Yeah.
We like each other before we won. We loved each other after we won.
Even though they were so different.
Yeah.
One-eyed jacks and straight arrows, street fighters and family men, churchgoers and barflies.
Incredible mix, yet a great deal of love for one another on this club. That wasn't by accident. That was cultivated. Shared struggle, shared success.
Skaronsky's analogy really captures it. Lombardi as the orchestra conductor.
Right, getting all different kinds of instruments to play together. With a jab here, a slap there, a pat on the head somewhere else. Intimidation plus ego feeding. Sensational combination, he called it.
And then he says, There may have been teams with more ability, but there was never one with more love.
That's powerful stuff.
It really is. And that collective bond, that shared craving for direction, fueled by Lombardi's relentless pursuit of excellence, that became their engine.
Perfection is not attainable, but if you chase perfection, you could catch excellence. That famous line.
Became a mantra. Guys like Starr and Forrest Gregg, they were students of the game, totally committed to that chase.
And the bigger lesson, connecting back to everything we've talked about, the will to win, the will to excel, these endure. It's more important than the wins themselves.
It's about the character built, the transformation.
And that transformation, that character, it didn't stop when they left the field, did it?
Not at all. So many of them took those Lombardi lessons, the discipline, the execution, the drive, and applied them to incredibly successful careers after football. Willie Davis, we mentioned his MBA, went on to own radio stations, a distributorship, sat on major corporate boards like Mattel, Sara Lee.
Amazing. Henry Jordan turning around Summerfest as executive director, applying those same principles.
And Max McGee, hitting it big with Chi-Chi's and Pizza Hut investments.
Bob Long, too. Dozens of Pizza Huts, then partnering with Starr and Skowronski and an investment firm. That teamwork continued off the field.
Even Ken Bowman, getting his law degree while playing. 6 years, then setting up his own practice. That's pure Lombardi discipline.
Yeah, that focus carried through. Kramer talked about in business how only maybe 15–20% of people do things right all the time. That focus on execution, that was pure Lombardi.
Getting it right every time. That was the standard.
And they passed it on. Bill Curry became a coach, quoted Lombardi constantly. Priorities, religion, family, education, football, fun, in that order.
Fatigue makes cowards of us all. Winning is a habit. Unfortunately, so is losing. Classic Lombardi lines Curry used.
And you saw that loyalty within the Packers family, too. Starr hiring Zeke Bratkowski, his old backup, as a coach when he took over. That trust ran deep.
It's a testament to the bonds formed. But not everyone thrived afterwards in the same way, right? There were struggles, too.
Yeah, absolutely. It wasn't a magic bullet for everyone. Lionel Aldridge's story is heartbreaking. Ended up struggling, living in a YMCA.
Said he didn't need money, he needed people, friends, family, connection.
People need people. It's a stark reminder that even within that incredible team structure, individual needs and vulnerabilities persisted.
And it highlights what Marv Fleming felt was missing later with the Dolphins, that deep camaraderie they had in Green Bay.
Exactly. The bonds under Lombardi, forged through shared hardship and that intense leadership, seem to have been uniquely powerful and lasting for many of them.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway here? We looked under the hood of this legendary team.
And found these common threads, didn't we? Deprivation, struggle, yes, but also this incredible resilience, this fierce desire for something better.
And a readiness, maybe even a subconscious need for the kind of leadership Lombardi offered. Demanding, yes, but also structured, caring in its own way.
It wasn't just about football tactics. It was about transformation. Taking individuals from tough spots and forging them into this unified force, chasing excellence.
It really makes you realize that what looks like just talent on the field often has these incredibly deep roots. Resilience, discipline.
And that profound craving for a leader who sees you, pushes you, but ultimately lifts you up.
Which kind of leads to a final thought for you listening out there. In your own life, work, sports, whatever it is, what kind of leadership do you crave?
And maybe thinking about your own background, your own story. What parts of that might explain why you respond to certain kinds of direction, that hunger for excellence.
Yeah, something to chew on. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.